now. You are not your past. You're you. You're you right now. You might have done some things you wish you hadn't done. Don't dwell on that. You can learn from it, that's fine, but don't dwell on it. Just keep moving. Keep moving. Use it as fuel. Say, never again. I get what I did wrong, but don't think that you're that person that made those mistakes. You're the person who's learned. I think that enduring something and building up that ability to endure things, that's also a very important mechanism that you could apply to everyday life. Like that, the mechanism of understanding how to endure. Because a lot of people are just running from discomfort. They're running from it. They're just avoiding it. It's so easy to. And like if you get distracted for a second, you're like, let me check my phone. You just start going through your phone and looking at bullshit, and you're just distracting yourself from the tiniest frustration of boredom. Just the little, we don't get bored anymore. Or if we get bored for these tiny amounts of time, then you get distracted. So your distraction is eliminating your boredom. But the problem with that is like, there's certain thoughts that only come to you when you're thinking, when you don't have any input coming in. When we're constantly looking at our phones, the only input you're getting is input from other people. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes you get good stuff out of that. But it's like a diet of only fruit. Like, hey, motherfucker, you need some protein. Yeah. Like you need to get some other things in your diet. And I think having discomfort in your diet, like having it as a regular part of your life, it minimizes the amount of other kinds of bullshit. And I think that insanity and greatness are next door neighbors, and they borrow each other's sugar. There's something about mastery, like true mastery, that requires you to shut off massive areas of your life, personal areas, relationships, education. My education was a joke. I mean, until I was 21 years old, until I started doing stand-up comedy, I didn't read books. I mean, I might have read a Stephen King book here and there to kill time while I was on the train on my way to training. But there was no desire to educate myself. If I was educating myself, it was maybe reading the Book of Five Rings to learn better strategy, to be a better fighter. That was all it was.
Or was there ever a point where you said, I'm a little out of balance, I need to go the other way?
Well, I realized I was a flawed person for sure. And I think in realizing that you're a flawed person...
What helped you realize that?
Just fucking up. Just being an idiot. Realizing, girls would get mad at me, or maybe guys would get mad at me. Whatever it was, I realized that I had flaws, I knew that I was... And then also failing at comedy. One of the hardest things to do is to go from being really great at something to sucking at something. And that something that you suck at is now your path. And that's what I found myself in comedy. I could get laughs every now and then, but I knew I wasn't anything special. I knew I was terrible. And there was something exciting about being terrible because I had potential, because there was potential for growth. If you start doing it and you're great at it, like naturally, like maybe I wouldn't have had the motivation to do it as a living for 25 years like I've done. I don't know. But at that time, making that transition from martial arts competition to being a comedian, that's when I started going down the road of balance and started trying to balance myself as a person. And I started trying to almost educate myself to have more things to talk about on stage. And then along the way, my curiosity started to blossom. And then I started to just be interested in things for being interested in them. And as I got better as a comedian, I became less worried about what other people thought about me and more worried about just improving and keeping this sort of momentum going. And as I relaxed more, in having some success in life and sort of not